People who signed up for those local MILF websites, what happened? Is there actually an abundance of locals wanting that? Story 1. I had an adult friend finder account for a few months. I must say the site is pretty legit, but the issue is the people. I sent dozens and dozens of messages to a lot of different profiles and I rarely got a response. If you're single, it's very hard to find an FWB or casual hookup. Most of the people on there are swingers and want to swap. I had the membership for about 8 months and deleted it after I just got so frustrated and annoyed that I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I know for sure I had 2 hookups, maybe a third, but I can't remember. I did get to participate in group fun though. That was wild. Don't waste your time and energy unless you're a couple that swings. If you're single, just buy a nice pack of tube socks or hire a model. Story 2. Real girls are chatting with you on some sites. My ex-girlfriend did one of those live chat things for a while and showed me how it works. So you log into a site and you assume a fake girl profile with fake profile pictures and fake personal information. You get assigned several dudes you can chat with simultaneously. Before you got them assigned, other girls had already chatted with them. When you log in, you just have to continue the chat that other girls have started. You can see the chat log because you will have to continue the chat so that the dude doesn't suspect that you are now a different person. The point of all this is that you can work when you want. If you log off, another girl will take over. And if you log on, you take over from another girl. Every sentence must contain a minimum of words. So no short answers like yes, no, or something like that. It has to be a complete sentence. You get paid the more you write. If you do this the whole day, it's like the minimum wage. If you do this long enough, you'll get a pay upgrade. The dude has no idea he's chatting with different girls, all of whom hold a fake profile. The dude will ask for pictures of you, and you have a gallery with pictures of a random girl that you can send to him. He'll also send pictures to you. The dude will continuously ask for a meetup, and the rules are that you, as the girl, must give vague answers like, yeah, let's maybe meet up next week, and keep asking him questions. The goal here is to keep the dude in chat as long as possible because he's paying for every message. It's like central phone calls, but in text form. Story 3. Back around 2005, I used to be on Adult Friend Finder quite a bit. The site was full of fake accounts, dead accounts, or just people who wouldn't commit to anything. However, there were also real people. Sure, it was mostly dudes, but there were plenty of women too. The thing was, you had to cover a wide net of people with your messages to get any replies. Still, I had quite a bit of luck with the site. I only got catfished once. The girl was the same person in the photos, but the photos were taken 6 years ago, back when she was skinny and hot. However, when I met her, she was morbidly obese. She must have gained 150 pounds since the pictures were taken. I could tell it was the same person, but she was buried inside of someone completely different. I felt put on the spot, so we went out on a date that was super awkward. Nothing happened at all, and I stopped talking to her afterward. I also met a married couple who were super weird. They were in their 30s, and I was younger than them back then, and they taught me a lot. We only met up 3 times, and after that, I ghosted them because I thought it was weird being with a couple. It just wasn't my scene. Story 4. One of my best gal pals worked for one of those companies. I remember that she used to complain that it was exhausting for her, so she did like a couple of hours every other day, more or less. So not full-time, and that would maybe translate to a couple $100s a month in my country's currency, for, say, 30 hours of work. She said that you can't just write anything you want. You have to study what other girls have written before you and jump off so that you don't contradict yourself if the dude wants to know more about you and what you have talked about before. At the same time, you must be flirty and come up with questions that keep the dude interested enough to continue to chat. It's more work than it sounds, and thus exhausting to do for several hours in one sitting. Eventually, she did not think that it was worth the money. Also, she said that those dudes come from exactly those kinds of meet this hottie and insert your city now ads. Those dudes are always desperate middle-aged men. I tried it myself one time with her, just for fun. Yes, guys can also do it since it's just texting. It's harder than it sounds. I had trouble coming up with things to write, and I had to always check the chat log so that I didn't contradict or repeat myself. The fun novelty of this whole thing wore out pretty quickly. Who knew that kind of job was hard? You have to be a master at both deception and manipulation. If you think people working in these companies have it tough, the woman in Story 8, an actual cougar, has it tougher. Story 5. Those websites are filled with spam bots pretending to be women. However, there are a few bored and neglected housewives among the more legitimate ones. Mostly, they just flirt with the idea of meeting up and then flaking, which I guess is not dissimilar to regular hookup sites or apps. But I did have an extended fling with a married woman who I met on one of those sites for a little while back in college. She was a bit homely, but I didn't care. I just wanted to have fun back then. She never wanted me to use protection, which I stupidly obliged to. It was hot, okay. But surprise, surprise, she got pregnant. I dipped, of course. The husband never found out as far as I'm aware. I still look her up on Facebook from time to time. The kid was of the special needs type. He's grown up now and he actually uses Reddit under the username TacoDaddy69 or something cringy like that. True story. Story 6. I worked for one of these scammy companies for about a month. We call those... go off, and suddenly she said, "You have to leave." I asked her why, and she said, "My daughter's about to be home. Go now." So she grabs my arm, motions me up, throws my shirt at me, and essentially throws me out of the back door. She tells me to walk up the neighbor's driveway and shuts the door in my face. Nothing too substantial, but that was my one and only cougar experience. I also don't think you'd meet a great cougar online. If you want to catch a prized animal, you must go to the wild. If you want to keep watching videos like this, hit the like button. And by the way, checking out my analytics, I noticed that 84% of you guys aren't subscribed to my channel yet. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to subscribe to my channel. Done? Yeah. Okay, let's get back to the video. Story 10. So yeah, I clicked on one of those ads and it redirected me to a different site with the same basic premise, an adult hookup site. For fun and giggles, I signed up using a Gmail address, using a prepaid cash card that had $2 left on it, and the basic membership was free. And it was legit. I found a chat room and started talking. I got matched with a few women. They found me in the chat room, and over a year, I ended up having fun with 5 of them. I was post-divorce and hadn't had fun in a while, so I was sowing my wild oats, and they were down to have fun. Number 6 was the real kicker, though. She was crazy in bed with nothing she wouldn't do, and I fell for her hard. She ended up being emotionally and physically cruel in the end. Story 11. The thing about those sites is that not all of the girls there were actually cougars. I have a couple of stories for you from my time in those sites. I met a girl who was pretty hot but also pretty trashy. I went to her house to pick her up for our date, and she asked me to come inside. Her husband wanted to meet me and be sure she would be safe with me. They told me that they were getting a divorce but couldn't afford to live apart and that their only rule was not to have physical relations with other people in their home. It was super weird. While we were out on a date, she let it slip that she was in prison for a few years. She was reluctant to talk about it, but I pried, and with the help of booze and grass, she eventually opened up. I knew she was a sub and really into that lifestyle, but what I didn't know was that years ago, while doing some heavy stuff with her boyfriend at the time, she felt threatened, freaked out, and almost ended him. I knew right then and there that I was ghosting this girl. I dropped her off at her house and tried to just give her a kiss goodnight, but we started making out. She tried to go further, but I reminded her of the house rule and told her I didn't feel right about it. In honesty, I was scared what she'd do if I ghosted her. Another one I met was a cute, chubby girl who had something wrong with her leg that made it hard for her to walk. I think the disability made it so that, although she was a normal girl, she didn't socialize much. She was desperate and eager to explore anything I wanted to do. I was happy to oblige. We went out a few times, but it was pretty clear she wanted me to become her boyfriend, and I was more interested in just having fun at the time. I would go back to her and have a little fun now and then, but she always tried to turn it into something more. Eventually, I realized that I had to cut her loose totally because she was a cool girl and I hated keeping her hanging on like that. I met a few other women, but they were quite unremarkable and most of them never even progressed. The biggest thing I found was that, even though it was a site for hookups and fun, most of the girls would want to date you. Even when all we would talk about was meeting to smash, once I'd meet them, it was anything but that. Story 12. So obviously they're fake. 100% just a scam to try and get your credit card information or charge you money for stuff. Sometimes you can get into the sites without entering information, but most will at some point end up trying to bribe you or won't let you continue without paying. As for the local you-know-what, they're either robots that have a programmed conversation, which is just a few questions, and then buy premium to meet with me, or someone who is really invested in getting you to click on the link they sent you so you can meet up and have some fun. Angie isn't 8 miles away looking for a huge flute. He's just a guy with a fake website looking for some dummies. They'll also use your email to hand out to other services who will spam you with how women with really unique names like Sarah, Jennifer, and Laura want to have fun with you. So you now have a constant flow of unwanted telemarketing in your mailbox. Story 13. I went to one of those sites before for fun, but was surprised when I met a young girl who was insufferable. When we'd talk online, it was all fun and the tension was palpable, but then in person, it was all BS. She was constantly trying to flex her wealth on me because her family owned some restaurants and had some money. I guess that stuff was impressive at her school, but she didn't seem to realize that my own family was far wealthier and that she wasn't impressing me at all. She just seemed to want a mature boyfriend more than anything. I was putting up with this BS for a while because I wanted to have fun with her, but she would never let me. Eventually, I got tired of how obnoxious she was all the time, so I told her off, and that was that. But I met a woman who was leaving to join the army and wanted a night of wild fun before she left. This was by far the best experience of all. She was stunning, and to this day, she remains the hottest woman I've ever been with. She had been working out like crazy to get ready for boot camp, and her body was toned like a sports model. Her skin was soft like velvet, and holding her felt incredible. There was no BS with her at all. It was just fun, and lots of it. I think I hit a home run several times that night with her. Even when I thought I couldn't get it up anymore, she'd just get me there like magic. Honestly, all of the hassles I put up with before were more than worth it for that girl and the memory I got to keep. She was way too good for me. Story 14. Not the same, but I have a pretty solid amount of experience with this sort of thing from being on dating apps for the past decade or so. Back in 2003, if they wanted to trick you into paying, they'd use pictures of supermodels and just straight up 10 out of 10 babes. and they'd pay what I can only assume are men from third world countries to chat badly back and forth before sending you the link they wanted to push. Eventually, I assume people caught on, so they started using pictures of real girls, presumably stolen from dating apps or social media to give it a more realistic touch. So you'd think you just got very lucky. When the bot script sends you the link, you think, well, it's worth a chance for $15 a month with only a $75 cancellation fee after 30 days if this is a scam. Nowadays, I assume they have enough data collected that they know exactly who they are targeting. Pictures on dating apps are more often than not larger women with pretty faces, attractive enough, but lonely guys could reason that they're single because of their ample rear end and that they're having trouble finding a mate, while at the same time wanting a piece of that juicy backside. This dude seems to know so much information on this. Story 15. I signed up for a few when I was frisky and desperate. Then I realized, like most men, that of course, it's a total scam. The amount of effort I was putting into them could be used to just set up a dating account instead. So I did that. An attractive woman doesn't lose her value, regardless of age. There will be someone out there who's willing to have fun with her. There are million cougars out there, but you have to put in effort and go out on a date. Story 16. I hooked up with a local cougar one time, but it was out of chance and it had nothing to do with those pages or any dating app. I just met her through some friends. The moral of the story is that there are local cougars who want to have fun with the younger guys. You just have to meet them in the wild. I feel quite accomplished. She had a fake chest, and I gotta say, they're quite nice. 10 out of 10. It was a little weird when I found out I was younger than her son. Yep. Story 17. I used to be one of those. A company hires people to respond to men's messages and fake profiles, and you get 20 cents per message. Once I made 100 in 1 week. I ended up stopping mostly due to my conscience. I don't remember the site name, but believe it or not, I found it looking for a work-from-home job on Google. Story 18. Back in my rock-bottom days, I did check out some of those sites for some sort of human contact. There are a very small number of genuine sites, but the ones on these are nothing like the ones advertised, are more MIWNFTWAFBBPs. Mama would never freaking touch with a freaking borrowed barge pole, and are probably disease-ridden. I saw quite a few profiles that said, allergic to rubber. That's when I noped out of there. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you made it this far, I'm sure you'll also enjoy. Have you ever used a meet and smash hookup site? Story 5 is unexpected. See you in that video.